Thank you, Irene Weiser. Up next, we have Joe Sliker, the President and CEO of Renovus Solar.
Hi everybody, thanks for being here. I'm Joe Sliker, President of Renovus. I'm sure some of you have heard of us in the community. We are trying to be equally as rabble-rousing as all of you are. We are doing a lot. We are installing a lot of systems. We're doing a lot to take ourselves off of fossil fuels. We bought a new facility in Ulysses, and NYSEG came out to remove the natural gas infrastructure. Our entire facility today is going to be completely powered by solar. We installed heat pumps, we installed all new electric, we installed all new insulation, and it was pretty easy. And it's really not that big a deal to do those kinds of things today. All of this stuff is accessible, all of this stuff is happening, and it's because of everyone here. We are the people that are pushing forward this inevitable thing. There's only so much gas and coal, and as wrong-headed as we could ever be, someday we're still gonna run out, no matter what. We are on a solar-powered planet, we will remain on a solar-powered planet, and we're the people that have to push it. So, thank you. Keep pushing it. Awesome. I'm done.
Thank you, Joe Sliker. I want to remind everybody that we do have free arepas and free ice cream over here. Feel free to go over there at any time. Yes, it really is free. In just a few minutes, the arepas will be available. Oh, they're ready. Spoons should not go in the compost. Spoons from the ice cream should not go in the compost over by the arepas. But please, get up, go get some arepas, go. Our next speaker today is Karen Edelstein. She is a resident of Lansing and a local environmental advocate.
Hi everyone. I'm a lifelong New Yorker and I've been a homeowner in the town of Lansing and have paid property and school taxes in Lansing for the past 24 years. I also happen to live just a few miles downwind of the Cuda power plant and have also been, as everyone else around here, has been a NYSEG customer for nearly 4 decades. I bought my home in Lansing when it was in a really quite a state of disrepair and made a commitment to improve it for its own structural stability and for its energy efficiency, not only for my own comfort, but also to do what I could do to reduce any negative impacts that my house was having on the environment. And it did mean cutting costs for a while so that I could afford to do the geothermal and do the solar and do all of the insulation. But I have no question that those impacts and those costs, those have been made up over time, and the savings are extremely clear to me in all sorts of levels. It wasn't just that I was doing it so that I could save money. It was because I felt a need to do this for my community, locally, globally, and basically it's what I feel good citizens should do. So we could really easily name a lot of the towns that have faced challenges when big industries have left and closed. Sometimes those changes present a lot of difficulties, but there are a lot of cases also around New York State and the Northeast where communities have rebounded. And we can just look at some of the changes in Rochester or Buffalo or even Pittsburgh, to name a few. They were really on the brink of collapse, and then communities came together and rebuilt. But all of that takes analysis, it takes planning, and it takes resourcefulness. My feeling is that that adage about putting all of your eggs in the same basket is really the case for Lansing. Thinking that the economic stability of the town is critically dependent on a single taxpayer like a power plant is simply a fiction. The local media beats the drum about the power plant closing as being disastrous, but what really is a disaster? For me, a disaster is a system that's so comfortable with the status quo that they can't think of any alternatives. But change happens, and the world is changing, and like it or not, we're going to have to prepare. Sea levels are rising, coastal communities need to prepare. Droughts are threatening communities, people have to come up with water conservation measures, and even with trans fats being found to be so unhealthy, how many companies have had to reconfigure their recipes or their products? Change happens. So I fully understand that also the Cuga power plant, as it's operating at a deficit for as many years, if it closed, yes, I think that my taxes would go up, and that's going to present a hardship for some people more than others. But is it fair to ask electricity ratepayers across the state to subsidize that power plant in Lansing for their own comfort? No. Is it okay to accept that it's all right for to add to global carbon than choosing electric energy efficiency and the less expensive option that Irene talked about of upgrading those transmission lines so that we can capture that energy that we're currently squandering and blowing those electrons off into space? No. None of that seems just. And I think that one of the things that we're all here about is about justice on a global scale. So now's the time to put our resources into improving that grid, to ready it for decentralized green energy and not investing in a dying fossil fuel system. It's simply a question of civic responsibility, plain and simple, and making changes for the greater good. Here in Ithaca, in Lansing, across New York State, and across the country. That greater good extends beyond the boundaries of my town. That greater good is for those who are going to inherit my house, the farms around us, and also the planet. And I want to close by quoting Gaylord Nelson, who was one of the co-founders of Earth Day back in the early 70s. He said, "The ultimate test of man's conscience may be his willingness to sacrifice something today for future generations whose words of thanks will not be heard." The ultimate test of man's conscience may be his willingness to sacrifice something today for future generations whose words of thanks may not be heard.
Thank you, Karen. Our next speaker is John Barber. He is a lifelong resident of Tompkins County and currently the Town of Caroline Supervisor. He has served in public office for 22 years and was the founding chair of the Tompkins County Council of Governments. Before that, he served many years as a chair of Tompkins County Environmental Management Council. Let's give a big hand for John Barber.
While you still have your hands ready, let's thank Reed and Jane and the leadership for Fossil Free Tompkins for putting on this event. And I want to thank all of you for making this a priority in your lives today. We know that as a species, we have changed the Earth's atmosphere for the worst. After the Earth was formed, this atmosphere was not hospitable for terrestrial life. For millions of years, algae and then more advanced aquatic plants went about an amazing process of taking carbon dioxide and toxins from our atmosphere, releasing oxygen, which we now take for granted. Man has learned that those carbon deposits contain condensed energy, which has been used to accomplish amazing feats and improve the quality of life for many humans. But the pace of extraction, transportation, and consumption of fossil fuel, putting carbon dioxide and toxins back into the atmosphere, is happening much faster than the ecosystems can take them out. We are gradually and steadily changing the Earth's atmosphere to an unsafe operating space for humans. We watch incredulously as the 6th mass extinction takes place before our eyes, asking, is this our fate? Or will we be able to change the direction in time? We know the climate is changing at an accelerated pace with prolonged temperatures and droughts, superstorms, extreme flooding events, sea level rise, and a disappearance of Arctic ice. Stopping fossil fuel and the assault on our environment is serious business. Partially because for most of us, partially it's for us, but mostly it's for our children and grandchildren who will experience even greater extremes in weather, stronger storms, and faster sea level rise displacing large populations. Becoming fossil-free is way beyond an economic argument. This is a matter of life and death for our species. It's not okay to deal with this later. Our moral imperative is to quickly stop the release of greenhouse gas into the ecosystem that supports all life. Thank you. We must take every opportunity to end reliance on fossil fuel by taking actions like stopping hydrofracking, stopping the Dryden gas pipeline, stopping the storage of gas under Seneca Lake, and the continued use of fossil fuel at the Cuba power plant. We all acknowledge that we need energy for human activity, but there are alternatives to fossil fuel. Locally, we've demonstrated through Solar Tompkins, the Black Oak Wind Farm, and now HeatSmart, that renewable sources can successfully replace fossil fuel. But make no mistake, there are powerful forces that stand to gain more wealth from fossil fuel. They use this wealth and power to shape the narrative that fossil fuel is necessary for all manners of our life. This is our challenge and not our defeat. We learned that from the banning of hydrofracking movement, how to successfully push back against this power. We did this by building community a community narrative around our core value to protect the environment that sustains us. Again, we need to drown out the steady drumbeat of corporate media by using every venue we can create to make the connection between fossil fuel and climate change. Like today's Issue Face concert, social media, an army of committed volunteers going door to door, and individually at every cocktail party, dinner, and celebration, making the connection between fossil fuel and climate change. When we do this, we will take control of the narrative that climate change is affecting our security and is getting worse. Individually, we have the power to change this every day with our decisions about fossil fuel. And collectively, we have the power to change socioeconomic direction by becoming part of a very large choir. As our choir grows, the center of the political spectrum moves with us to acknowledge a new narrative about a reverence for life, replacing the worship of the golden economic development calf at the expense of everything else. Let ours be a time to be remembered for the awakening of a new reverence for life. Yeah.
about the arepas. They are also vegan and